Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special inverted Black Friday episode of Legion of Lilith. This is JS Garett's interview with his friend Rorick Douglas right next to him. What's up, guys? How you feeling tonight?
Hey, doing great, brother. Thanks
And
for
we
having us.
we also have Demetrius Tesarius. Demetrius, how you feeling, brother?
Yeah, I feel really good. Amazing. I have been waiting for this interview for a really long time.
Yeah,
And
we finally
today,
got JS on here.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fucking awesome.
And today's topic will mostly be technology of ritual sacrifice, the watchers, and necessity of. Technically, I really want to well into practical sides of blood magic with you, JS, because you are the only man out there, only sorcerer out there with your partner who actually publicly talked about really important aspect of the craft, which is sacrificing and giving offerings and offering life force to the spirits. And you are one of the few who goes beyond quote unquote politically correct witchcraft of the modern era and actually does things which bring results and which works as a certain technology, as a certain template. And so, as a short introduction to this clip, I kind of need to say how I know about JS and what he does. So,
Before
my
you say that,
introduction.
though, let me start by reminding the audience that none of us can be held responsible for the information that we present. We are doing this in the name of education. Please continue, Demetrius.
So, I need to kind of elaborate how I got familiar with JS. So, he obviously was on YouTube, but I didn't watch that much. I read to JS personally, and if JS remembers, 3 years ago, he gave me a template for work with Shemyaza and introductory ritual with him. And so I performed my own version of that, and it worked. And I worked with Shemyaza for some time, and also through him, I got familiarized with Joe Ragnarsson, another guy who talked about Shemyaza publicly. And so through working with your rituals JS and with Joe for a time, I really got familiarized with the current of the watchers and their powers and technologies. And that's how I am familiar with what JS is doing. But I need to ask you, JS, how your journey with watchers started and what led you to them, because they are not a really known thing, or they were not a really known thing at the time when you started magic. So can you talk about that for a little while?
Well,
Yeah,
real quick, JS, do you think that the Watchers are Yahweh's angels, or do you follow the witch lore that says they are originally from Universe B and created by the dark side of the tree?
All right, so I'll say I honestly don't know for sure. Like, I can't say that definitively, and even if I could, I couldn't prove it.
Right.
I don't think that they're like Yahweh's angels. I think that these entities were like very real physical beings that came here from another star system, from another dimension. I don't know, and founded and created civilization on this planet. And I think that those who survived the war are very much still alive, and that whenever we are interacting with them through these rituals that we perform, it's really like the same as the deification, right? When I perform it for another person, like I'm pulling their consciousness, like they are astrally interacting with me, and they have a very real power and ability to manipulate this physical reality. So I don't necessarily consider them to be just like spirits, like a lot of people think. Like, no, I think they are real alien beings that are still out there. And as far as where my path started working with them, we talked about this a little bit on the last interview. But Shemyaza actually made contact with me. Like, I wasn't doing magic at the time. I wasn't even thinking about anything to do with like rituals or the watchers or the fallen angels, as they're called. Like, I had a really crazy out-of-body experience where I was literally snatched out of body and met this being, and that ensued the my life actually falling apart shortly after that. Like it was just like kaboo, and all the pieces went up. And then, by the time they fell, like I was sitting in a totally different reality that was 100 times better than where I was before. And he's, giving me specific information, like his sigil, like the master key and the right of deification. And it's always been like only one condition. The only thing I want from you in exchange for this information is for you to share it with everybody else. And so I'm living up to my end of the bargain there. And it's, as far as like working with the watchers, something I was, frustrated about before I received the master key. I was like, we've only got like 20 of their names, and it says that there was 200 of them, but they've been wiped out of history, like completely. And so, after he gave me the master key, he was like, this is how you can make contact with any of us. Like, you don't have to know their name. All you need to do is open that master key by vibrating my name and ask for the watcher that can help you with whatever you're working on to come through, and they will introduce themselves. So this has actually been a way that, we're able to, this is a tool that we can use to discover the lost names of these entities. And yeah, it's the most valuable thing that the spirits have ever given to me.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
since we are talking about the master key, I kind of need to give my short, limited experience with that. So watchers seem to be like a collective group of entities, and in the same way we are all connected to the internet. As a human beings, we created that artificial network, as the internet. So the watchers have some form of their own collective network, their own collective field. And the master key seems to tap not into them as individuals, but directly into that field. And when I scribed into master key, what I saw was essentially that field of, I cannot describe what it is. It's like a celestial fire, but not the type of celestial fire we usually imagine when we think about the heavens and celestial beings. Some form of I will not say perverted celestial energy, but definitely weirdly engineered. So master key seems to tap into that weirdly engineered angelical energy, which is characteristic of the watchers specifically as a group of beings. And what I found out is like when you scry into master key and you go into that field, what comes through is so incomprehensible that it's like almost impossible to interpret. And individual watchers seem simply to be like a manifestations of that field. And Shemyaza and Azazel as the most powerful manifestations, obviously. But when you look at that field, this doesn't seem to function in a way we think it does. So what you think about that key and the field and everything? And if you disagree with something I said, you can like say.
Oh
You can,
no,
like,
no,
talk
like I
about it.
won't, I don't typically disagree with people on subjects that we don't have any solid proof on. So I mean, this is pretty uncharted territory, and we're all speaking from our personal experiences, and
Right.
each of those experiences are going to be different. But yeah, I think I understand what you're saying about, this master key being able to tap into the collective consciousness of these entities. And that's essentially how I view it, like it's like a key to their realm, a key to their power. And, by using that key, like I said, you can make contact with any of them. So yeah, I'll say you're probably right about that, man.
What I will say to the JS, that all of them have very distinct, different personalities. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about the agendas that they're collectively working on, but I worked with Armoros, I've worked with Shemyaza, I've worked with Shemsael, and I've worked with Shemhazael. Now, Shemsael is I'll just be frank. He's very highbrowed with his nose in the air, very prideful. And when I got in touch with him, he said, "I don't like yous," meaning you human beings. He was like, "You stink. All of you stink." And the communication, like he was for better words, he was kind of a dick. Shemyaza on the other hand, though, was very benevolent, willing to help, um, me with Belial workings. So they do connect cross fields with each other. But the one watcher himself was not very willing to work with human beings, just that one. But the rest of them, I found very cool. Shemyaza as well, very the typical archetype for the hero of humanity. When your one of your particular invocations really caught me dealing with Shemyaza. You said, "Oh, Abyssic Angel." Um, I forget how it goes. Then you're like, the angel that took up sword and scythe and said, "Fuck the slave gods. I shall descend to the earth to make gods out of men and women." Like that is, whew, like that's Shemyaza in a nutshell. And I think that he's one of the best to work with. If people are going to reach out to Shemyaza first.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. And you know, the very first ritual video that I ever put on YouTube, I was doing it was on the Become a Living God channel. It was a deification rite for EA wedding. And the conjuration that I spoke there, I actually got that from Michael Ford. And you know, I read it out loud, and it resonated with me. And so you know, I used that in that original ritual. And then it was like the more that I worked with him, he was like, "Look, this is how I want you to address me." You know, so the conjuration that I use is I guess unique in the way that that's how he prefers to be called and regarded, you know. But Michael Ford's conjuration was fucking badass. It worked, and they're very similar anyway. So fuck yeah, man.
So the one that I just said a little piece of, that was Michael Ford's.
I think the part of like Hail Thou Abyssic Angel, I think that is from Michael Ford's original conjuration. So I definitely want to give him credit there where it's due.
Yeah, it's
You know, like I think it was "Hail Thou Abyssic Angel, he who took up the sword and scythe against the angels of ignorance." I think that is Michael Ford right there. And you know, I've changed, you know, I've developed my own conjuration for him that I use in rituals. You know, I'll start out by I'll stare into the master key and I'll vibrate his name, and I'll say, "Shemyaza, King of Heaven, come." You know, "Shemyaza, King of the Shaman, come. Knower of the names, come. He who said, 'Fuck the slave gods,' and I'll descend to earth and forge men and women into gods and goddesses." That's my conjuration.
so good, brother. So good, man. Like
Thank you.
I can't even begin to, like, when I seen that video, I was just like, fuck yeah. I was like, this guy gets it. This guy gets it totally. So good. So I have some more questions. Demetrius, did you want to shoot another one? If not, I'm gonna go right into these questions I have for JS here.
So go through your questions and we will discuss later. Yeah.
Okay, so your mindset when you were doing your contributions for the anthology of sorcery, how did you channel the gnosis? Now, I want you to go through all of your contributions: the anthology of sorcery, the Zazel compendium, and the Satan compendium. Where were you at during that point in your life when you were receiving the gnosis for the contribution, and how did you channel that information for those contributions?
Okay, absolutely. My first contribution was where I published The Rite of Deification in the Anthology of Sorcery, Volume 3 through Become a Living God. And, you know, I had recently discovered and received the Rite of Deification, as I call it. And so they put out like, Bog put out a challenge, you know, to like publish the world's most powerful ritual. And like everybody, you know, send in, you know, the best stuff you got, and, you know, whatever makes the cut will get published. And so I was saying, like the condition that he gave me that ritual, the only condition was that I would share it with the world. And so it was like, you know,
Perfect opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a month after I received and developed the ritual and tested it out several times that they put out that challenge. And I was just like, that's the perfect opportunity to hold up my end of the deal here. And so, you know, I give a little bit of background story of how I developed the ritual, and then I give like detailed instructions on how absolutely anyone can, whether you have experience or not, can pick up that manuscript and recreate this ritual with success. And you know, shortly after that book dropped, I started getting like emails and Facebook messages, people asking me like, whatever you want to perform this right, I'll pay it, you know. And I'm like, oh, you know, I have a job, you know, I don't really, you know, I just put patient out there, you know. And so then Tim writes me, Timothy at Become a Living God. He was like, dude, I want to put this in the catalog. Like, we have heard from dozens of people, you know, asking where they can hire you to do this ritual for them. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? This is what I like to do anyway. I mean, on my nights off, I'm outside, you know, doing this ritual, you know. So I'm like, all right, I'll put it in the catalog, and you know, we'll see how it does. I figured like maybe, you know, maybe I do 1 or 2 rituals a month, and you know, so I got like 10 orders in the first like 5 days. And so for that
Wow.
deification ritual. And so I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna have to quit my job if this keeps up. And it absolutely did. You know, then Timothy was like, dude, give me everything you got. Like, I want to put anything you do in the catalog. You know, this is like the best selling ritual we've ever had. And so, yeah, long story short, I gave him a few more rituals, and that has kept me busy full time for years now. This is all I do is, you know, ritual for hire consultations and create content based on the information that I discover.
Yes.
And like, dude, I couldn't be happier, man. Like, I mean, I'm not like rich, but you know, I have everything that I need and everything that I want. And
all praise for Shemyaza.
yeah,
I see why your logo for the Lawless Metaphysics. By the way, for the audience, JS's new YouTube channel is Lawless Metaphysics. You can go ahead and subscribe to that right now or after you watch the video, and hit the like and the bell and all that good shit. But yeah, now I see why you use Shemyaza's sigil,
yeah,
showing that spirit. I thank you for basically guiding me so far on your journey and taking care of you. I mean, you've
yeah,
taken care of
absolutely.
yourself. It's not like, oh, Jesus did it. No, Shemyaza did it. It's nothing like that. You did it yourself, but through the guidance of the spirit, and you didn't forget, and you gave credit where credit is due, and that's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly why we use the master key, the seal of Shemyaza, as our business logo. Not only am I continuing to spread that knowledge and information to the world by doing that, but I'm absolutely giving credit where it's due. And you know, that was the first like spiritual contact that I'd ever had was with him, and that's really everything began at that point. And of course, you know, once Shemyaza ran me through the ringer and rearranged a lot of stuff in my life, then I made contact with Belial, and that's where it really took off and started to like transform myself into the person I am now. And I'm very proud of who I am now. When I look in the mirror, you know, I used to didn't like what I'd see. You know, I'm not talking about even my physical appearance. You know, I was just you know, looking back at my life before all this happened. I'm not proud looking back of the man that I used to be. You know, I wasn't like a bad person or anything.
Right.
I just like I'm so much prouder of what I've become now, and it's been through working with these entities like, you know, Shemyaza and Belial.
Yeah, you found your self-worth, and they've created a solid foundation for you to stand upon. And that's what I told you during our last interview. I was like, you're motherfucking JS Garett. Like, you can be humble if you want, but come on now, man. So chronologically, where are you at now when you're with you and Belial foster relationship? Is this around the Azazel compendium or?
All right, so all right, so the compendium of Azazel, that was something that I was asked to participate in. And so you know, I was like, okay, well, you know, I've done lots of work with Azazel, but but you know, nothing. I haven't discovered anything that hasn't been discovered yet. So I specifically like went out in the woods and did an evocation with Azazel. And you all right there, brother?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
So
So I thought he was passing out or something. I don't know, but no. And so, you know, I did a path working with Azazel specifically for producing what, you know, for putting whatever it is that he wanted me to publish in his compendium. You know, I'm like, I'm not just gonna, you know, sit here and tell stories about my experiences, or, you know, sit there and, you know, do Google research and put together like my own little spin on it. It's like, no, if you'll give me something that, you know, if you want me to participate in this compendium with your name on it, then please give me what you want me to publish. All right. And so I absolutely did get an answer from him. And you know, he actually gave me 2 separate rituals to do. It was shortly after we had the full eclipse, and I performed a ritual during that where I actually, you know, offered myself as a living sacrifice to Shemyaza. And it wasn't too long after that I was, you know, working on the Azazel compendium. And so he actually gave me another ritual that needs to be performed on the day of the next eclipse, which is a couple years from now, if even that. It's getting close. It's getting close. And he actually wanted me to perform it at the site, you know, because these 2 eclipses, these 2 solar eclipses, they make an X over the US. All right.
Huh.
Yeah. Like the shadow, the trail makes an X over the US. Yeah. And he wanted me to go to that specific spot, X marks the spot, and perform a specific ritual during that time. And so, yeah, assuming I'm still alive when that comes around, I absolutely will. And if for any reason I'm not here, then I published it. So hopefully somebody will, because it's going to be something important that needs to be done.
Look, these beings are so powerful. Unless they want you to leave, you're not going to. Belial said this to me. Me and Demetrius did a very powerful working last year on behalf of Belial. And I let go. I did my thing. Belial came in. The spirits came through me. They dispersed throughout the area. In my city, there was riots, mayhem, shootings, deaths, complete lockdown of my area. The next day, I went outside and there was detectives. I'm going outside with my son to take him to daycare to go to work, and there's detectives sitting on my car. I'm like, I'm going to jail. I'm like, Belial came into my head. He's like, I've given you the best security that money can buy. Relax. So I get in my car. They get off of my car. They start their car. One goes in front of me, one goes behind me. I got an escort to work that day. I was like, is this real life? I was like, what the fuck is happening here? So yeah, that's how much authority these beings have. So yeah, no one's gonna be able to get close to you to take you out, brother. So.
I hear you, and you know, nobody's invincible. I'm definitely not.
I don't think so.
About,
I don't think so. Always keep your wits about you. Don't think that you're invincible. I know you don't, but I'm just saying that if you are in these beings' plan and you're one of their higher level priests, they're not going to let anything happen to you. They're not going to put you in the situation to where you could be in danger.
Yeah, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. You know, I mean, if you know, if a freaking, you know, tornado wipes me off the map tomorrow, that compendium's still there, and somebody will pick that up and go perform that ritual. And that's what really matters. Like that's going to be something extremely important in order to, you know, it's a sacrifice that has to be made in order for the future events that are coming to be steered in a direction that is beneficial for us. You know, the children of Belial, the sons and daughters of the Watchers, the people that walk the path that we do, because it could go either way. It's going to be a tipping point. I think that eclipse represents the tipping point in one direction or the other, and I'm going to you know, be there to make sure that it gets tipped in our direction.
Look, you're here for two things. You're here to gain experiential knowledge and you're here to teach. Like I said to you in the last video, you're being initiated into the priesthood of the Order of the Fly. Now, if the powers that be think you're dangerous now, if the powers that be think that the sons and daughters of Belial are dangerous in the flesh, get us outside of the flesh. And then the real danger will present itself. But I don't think that these forces are in each other's faces. I think that Belial has I think he's one of the archons. I think he has authority and one of the architects over American politics as it exists at the moment. But we're getting way off track. So we're at the Satan Compendium.
All right, so the Satan Compendium, once again, that was not something that I had planned to be a part of. But it was getting ready. It was coming up on like the deadline where, you know, if you were going to submit something, then it needed to be done. And so it was like Satan literally like grabbed me metaphorically. Like I was sitting in my bed watching TV, and I literally felt like an invisible hand just like reached out and grabbed me like through my whole body, like a giant hand. It was like, I want you to publish the reverse baptism in this compendium. And I'm like, yes, sir, I will do that. So I immediately wrote Timothy. I was like, hey, brother, I don't know if you got any slots left or not, but this has to be published in this compendium. He's like, okay, dude, whatever, I'll make room for you. And so it was me and my spouse at the time, since it was a project that we both worked on together. We published, we each wrote our own articles, but they were printed together, like, as this is the experience that this person had with this ritual, and then here is how you perform the ritual.
Reverse baptism, right?
Yes, the reverse baptism, which I've heard from so many people, dude, that are like, thank you for putting that out. Like, that we're suffering from the same symptoms that my past partner was, like every time it was every time that they would try to do a ritual or make contact with an entity like Belial, they'd be overcome with like confusion and anxiety.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, and so like I was like trying to figure this out, and so I mean I talked to like hundreds of people every year, in consultations, and there's a consistent common denominator with people that are having trouble making contact or having successful results with their ritual operations, and that's that they've all been baptized as children. And so though, I started doing like meditative work on this, specifically with Belial and Satan, asking them, what's the deal with this and how do we fix it? And they explained it to me. They're like, the baptism, the Catholic baptism, is a black magic ritual created by a black magic cult that is the priesthood of the Catholic Church, and it's done in order to deed a person's soul over to the Christian God. So it's literally wrapping spiritual chains around that person's soul that can be felt physically at times. And so the reverse baptism is designed to break you free of those chains, and you no longer have the interference that you used to have.
So your parents are making a pact for you before you have free will.
Yes. Absolutely.
So today is Black Friday, right? I was in Congress with Belial this afternoon, and he can be reached during the day too, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. He said, you guys have a perfect opportunity. This Black Friday thing, you know it now to be mindless materialism. Go out and spend your money. No. You guys have a holiday made for you right now, brothers and sisters of the Black Lodge. Now, how this ties into what you're doing and the Satan Compendium is, Black Friday should be used by Satanists worldwide as a holiday to perform the reverse baptism. And even if you've done it before, just turn Black Friday into a day of mindless shopping, into a day of blasphemy, into the day that you remember when you cast your first shadow. That's what Black Friday should be used. It's a shame that this video won't be aired today, But yeah, I would urge brothers and sisters.
If JS Garett sends me like a recording today, so I can download it on my phone immediately, maybe it can be aired today.
Cool, cool, that'd be cool. So I would, yeah, I would urge brothers and sisters of the Black Lodge to use this day to commit a blasphemy, desecrate a Bible, Quran, Torah, and cast your first shadow if you haven't done it yet. Make Black Friday our holiday. We don't have enough holidays. We have about 4 or 5, and they're all tower gate openings for archdemons. So.
Oh yeah. No, I like it, man. I like it. I think that's some damn good gnosis you got there. And yeah, we're gonna steal Black Friday now.
Yeah, absolutely. Operation Hijack Black Friday. Did you have something to ask him? Because I got a bunch of questions for him, and I know we only have an hour. So go ahead, Demetrius.
So I am like here for a practical question as always. So essentially, when we talk about Black Friday, what it is animalistic directing of the masses in certain direction in order to benefit the few people. Maybe 100 people benefits from Black Friday, the rest spend the money. So maybe we can use a similar technology to that you use to harness the power of the pandemic in order to harness the power of the Black Friday and all of that energy surge in order to manifest what we want. So maybe we could like do a collaboration of like creating a sigil to harness the power of those things such as Black Friday marketing, corporate propaganda, to like harness some of that energy energetically for our own goals. I think that would be good idea. I tried to do something in the past similar to this with Molech, but you seem to have a much finer touch with using those fields than I do in those specific occasions.
Well, I think we're all good at different things, man, and that's why it's so important for us to collaborate and work together. Like you might be really good at something that I'm not, and vice versa. And everyone brings something to the table who's actually dedicated and focused on what we're doing here. So yeah, I think the more that we do things like this, that we collaborate on projects, or the more compendiums of knowledge that we put out, then the better it's going to be for everyone.
Agreed. And we could talk about off recording about collaborating to make a sigil that will benefit the brothers and sisters of the Black Lodge. So how did it feel, JS, to see your name on an official real deal occult document? And were you satisfied with the finished product? I'm talking about.
Dude. So first of all, it felt awesome, like fucking awesome. Like I was so honored and privileged to be a part of that, and that's something that I'm really proud of, man. And yeah, I was happy with the finished product. Like I thought the books were good quality, and I was like really concerned about like things being changed and whatnot, which like the compendium of Azazel, like there was some editing problems in actually in my article, and that's because like as Timothy put it, like, dude, you use the same phraseology over and over and over. I'm like, okay, well, I'm really not an author, man. I'm just like talking how I talk, but I totally got what he said. So he did some editing for me, and I think the editing kind of got a little out of whack there, so it was like it jumped around just a little bit at one point. But no, I was like super happy with the anthology. I was super happy with the Satan compendium, and other than that one little editing lapse there in Azazel.
Look, brother, that happens in the best of books. I've seen Primal Craft books that had typos. I've seen Exacxar. I've seen Top. I've seen Fall of Man. I've seen Scarlet Imprint. I've seen, you name the occult publishing company, I've seen typos in their products. So nothing's perfect in this dense world of shit. So Did you have anything to add to that? Congratulations, man, because I think you have skills as an author as well as skills as a magician as well. For you saying, "Oh, I'm not an author," no, you can write. You can definitely write.
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I don't have anything to add to it really. I was just thrilled to be a part of it, man. It's an honor to see my name up there on the cover of that book next to so many other badass authors, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm really happy about it.
those are your peers now. Those are your equals now. Now you can work on outdoing them. Not like your enemies with them, but strive to be the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's something that we all kind of do for each other. Like,
yeah.
we're always like, not we collaborate on a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
but we're always like, trying to sharpen each other's swords, like make each other better. And the higher that someone sets the standard or sets the bar, the better it makes everybody. So I won't even say it's a competition or anything like that. It's just setting a high standard. That's the goal.
Yes. Yeah, and competition is healthy all day, all night. So, were you called to the sacrificial path because not anyone can just say, "Hey, I think I'm going to try to start practicing animal sacrifice." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
were you called to the path?
Yeah, absolutely. By Belial specifically, I had underwent a possession with Belial, and it was like boot camp all day, every day for months. Because one of the things I asked him to do is like, I want to learn the black arts directly from you. I want you to teach me how to do magic the right way. And he was like, okay, you're about to get it. And so that was one of the first points that he gave me was how the importance of the sacrifice. And see, I'd always thought that it was like a gesture or something, like something symbolic. And he was like, no, this is not a symbolic gesture. This is a very necessary part of this practice. And that's because you are harnessing and utilizing the life force energy of the sacrifice as it leaves the body. And you're giving the entity that you're working with the strength and power that they need to turn around and use that strength and power to manifest what you are asking for in reality. So, I mean, it's very necessary.
You're either going to give them the sacrifice or you're going to give up your own life force energy, one or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, I typically use both, man. Like my personal rights and even some client rights. I use my own blood as well as the blood of a sacrificial offering. And that's at that point you've got a freaking wrecking ball that you're wielding.
Well, a couple other facets about the sacrificial path is you're supposed to feel the fear of the animal as it's being put to death. You're supposed to feel the grief and the anguish of the animal. It's supposed to be transferred onto you. Now, in certain witch lore, Belial is very much intertwined with the sacrificial path. And in Primal Craft witch lore, once the sacrifice is made, the energy of the animal goes to the loving hands of Belial, where it is carried to the throne of the goddess. So yeah, it's not like they're just like gulping life force energy like some gluttonous pigs. No, they are actually elevating the animal into another cycle or experiential growth, or the animal levels up actually. So everyone's benefiting out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not supposed to be easy to sacrifice something.
No, or else it
I mean,
doesn't count.
that's why it's called sacrifice, and that's why like traditionally, like a lot of major rites have called for you to sacrifice something that you love, because it is not supposed to be easy. So we're not just out here, fucking carelessly chopping the heads off chickens all the time and not taking that seriously in any way. Like we raise these chickens, we care for these chickens, we love these chickens, we spend time with them. And every time, man, before I make a sacrifice, like I'm sitting there holding this chicken saying thank you and I love you,
Yeah.
and every part of the body is utilized. And we even grind the bones into powders to use, as magical powders. Like if somebody has me do like a wealth right for them, and they want some wealth powder to sprinkle in their wallet or around their business or some, or even in their shoes, then the next day after the fire is cooled down, I'll go dig the bones out of that campfire and grind those up into a powder that is used as like a blowing powder. And so, yeah, nothing goes to waste, man. Not one drop of blood goes to waste. I carry a piece of tissue in my pocket, all right? And I'm even like cleaning the blood off the sword and off of the chopping block and off of the ground if I spilled any, and putting that in the fire. And not one drop should be wasted. Like nothing should be wasted.
And I've seen what all that you've put into your rights, and I will tell the public that he definitely does make sacred the life of that animal that is being sacrificed. So it is definitely serious practice, and I commend you for introducing that into the public sphere of influence. Not many other practitioners were talking about, writing about sacrifice, nothing until you came along. So,
I mean, the practice is as old as time, and
oh yeah, I'm not,
yeah,
yeah,
but
you know
yeah,
what I'm
as far
saying,
as like,
modern practitioners.
yeah, modern practitioners have really like gotten away from that, like shied away from it. And like it's something like that's one of the biggest things that like these entities have stressed to me, is like bringing back the old ways of practice. There was a reason why they did it back then. Our ancestors were smarter than us, okay? They built the freaking pyramids, okay? We can't build a pyramid now. We could never rebuild that with our level of technology. Like they knew more than we did. And so that's why I started really studying ancient cultures and ancient like shamanic practices and magic practices. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing this the way they did it, because they knew what the hell they were doing. And not many people nowadays do, at this point. So, I mean, it's like, I go to the New Age section of the bookstore and I'd buy like a book on witchcraft or voodoo or something like that. And I ended up just throwing it in the trash. I'm like, God damn, I didn't learn anything from this. Like it was total waste of time. And so that's when I was like, okay, you need to start digging deeper into the past than focusing on anything that's come out recently. Now, that's not to say there's not some good authors out there. There's definitely, I've found some really good books since then that they didn't sell in the New Age section of the bookstore. And those are like E.A. Quetting's books. I'm reading one by Mark Allen Smith right now that, I'm just getting started into it, but it's like the Scorpion God.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that's a really good book, so I definitely want to read it. And yeah, like it's I even got some really good information out of this old paperback book written by a guy named Reese P. Dubin. And he was just like a guy that traveled the world and collected all these different techniques and magic words, magic chants, things like that, and compiled them into a book. I'll say some of it is bullshit. Some of it does not work, but some of it does work very, very well.
So this next question I want to direct at yourself, Demetrius, and Rorik. This is an important question, I feel. Do you feel that in the future, the powers that be will create a law that will act against spooky action at a distance?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're already working on it now with this, new satanic panic that people were trying to get started. So yeah, I absolutely believe that just like in the past, and not even the ancient past, the recent past, magic will one day again be outlawed, and it will be an offense punishable by death if we don't prevent that from happening, because that's what they want, guys, and we cannot let that happen.
So this is a really interesting topic to discuss. Topic of sacrifice. So I kind of need to share a little bit. I think it will be interesting to all of you guys. So I studied a lot in the same way you studied American folklore and American folk magic for that matter. And that's how you found, because what you are essentially doing in your own practice is pretty reminiscent of what I read in American folk magic. Like your way of approaching the animals, of slaughtering them, of collecting the bones for a powder. In the same way, you looked for American folklore and tribalistic folklore of other nations, I looked into Slavic folklore for a while. And what put me in a really shocked state is you have a lot of streams of water near my village where my family lives for a few generations. And a lot of those streams of water are weirdly named. And when you ask people why the stream is named this way, they will tell you the girl of so and so was drowned there or she drowned there. But the trick was that all of those streams had the same name. So one girl couldn't drown at 20 different streams in the same area. It doesn't make sense. So what I figured out is essentially the name of the girl is pretty similar to the name of the old pagan god of the streams in my area. And what they did is they technically sacrificed human beings at those streams in order to create a network of spiritual energy, technically, which will flow between the streams and create some form of energy field. Later on, I tested calling the spirits in those streams, and I figured out that yes, those spirits actually accepted those offerings and they are the part of the same collective mind. So that's how I actually figured out uh, that you are correct. If we look at how those stories are taught about today, about women drowning, what you can figure out is that those rites were performed until relatively recently. Maybe people ended doing them. If you collect all of the data and customs and folklore, they stopped doing it around 200 years ago,
So
which
wait a
is
second,
still,
Demetrius. The people that were serving the pagan god were murdering and drowning the victims on behalf of the deity, or
yeah.
the deity. Someone was crossing a stream, and the deity would make them slip.
So both of
How would
those
that
things
work?
are technically correct, but there is a third way of doing it, which is not essentially discussed. So essentially, when the old religion was forced to Christianize or change, what people did is pretty interesting. So you had a lot of legends of people doing quote unquote baneful magic with one particular deity, which is also the Lord of the Streams. I am not going to name him because you know the reasons, probably. So, what he told me recently is once the physical sacrifice is outlawed, literally people came to him and they told him we cannot offer them physically anymore. He literally gave them the formula for using magic to dedicate humans to him and sacrifice them this way. So, since we don't have institutional power yet, and we will probably not have it as a broader populace for a really long period of time, for a really long time, even in a current day, some of the people do it. There is a form of baneful magic used as a sacrificial offering. And this is something I wanted to discuss with JS because he is the only person who can actually understand what I'm talking about. Because he probably understood it already and did some of that shit already himself. So I kind of wanted to talk about that for a while. And if you look at the watchers, there is a pretty interesting connection between the watchers and what I'm talking about. If you look at all of those gods of my own nation, how they show themselves up to the people, right? They usually show themselves up as a mix of human and animal, some form of a human and animal hybrid, of course. We know that they are not actually corporeal, but they are still presenting themselves in a certain way.
Yeah, zoomorphic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to how the sons of the Watchers are described in certain texts as some form of a hybrid between a human and animal, which is a pretty interesting connection there. And there is also a lot of text which say that people offered sacrifices to the Watchers specifically within particular vessels. So what I wanted to ask JS here is how to give offerings to the Watchers specifically as a group of beings.
Okay, well, I mean, the way I give them offerings is very simple. I mean, there's obviously different ways that you can do it. I prefer to burn whatever I'm offering. So if I'm offering them like a glass of fine whiskey, I'll light that whiskey on fire. If I'm offering them blood, I'll put my blood on their sigil and then burn that sigil afterwards. And if I'm offering them a sacrifice, then I spill the blood of that sacrifice into the ritual fire after I've summoned that entity into that fire. And so the fire transmutes the energy of what you are offering into a type of energy that can be fully absorbed by the entity instead of just spilling the blood on the freaking ground. You know, you're wasting so much of the sacrifice if you're just spilling the blood on the ground. And I know there's cultures that did that. I think, the Norse, like the Vikings, they would just like, if they were doing a human sacrifice or something like that, they would just like kill the person in a sacrificial way. But no, you really get into the scientific method of actually feeding the entity when you incinerate those offerings.
Just like in the Bible when when the priests of Baal were in a contest with the priests of Yahweh, and the priests of Yahweh burnt their sacrifices, and the flame shot up like 30, 40 feet. And you know the story, and the other priests, nothing happened. So yeah, to incinerate, to immolate, to burn the sacrifice is more powerful.
Yeah, well, I took inspiration from the story of Cain and Abel too, in a lot of ways. All right, so these two brothers, Cain and Abel, one's a farmer that grows like vegetables, and the other one raises livestock, and they wanted to appease God. All right, so they go to the mountaintop, and Cain brought like all his best vegetables and things that he had grown. And Abel, of course, brought livestock, burning flesh and blood. But the thing is, they both burned it. Like Cain burned the vegetables, and then Abel slaughtered and burned the animal. All right, and so God, he favored the burning flesh and blood over the burning vegetables. All right, and so then Cain says, "Okay, you want blood? I'll give you the blood
I'll
of my
give it to
brother."
you.
Yeah, like so I'm like that. All right, so I took two things from that. One, burn your offerings, and two, offer blood and flesh.
Fuck yeah. Demetrius, go ahead.
So I also want to ask another question. So you seem to have the most experience with Shemyaza out of all of the Watchers. So what are offerings which he specifically likes the most as a spirit?
All right, cool. So you cannot go wrong with blood sacrifice, like your own blood or the burning flesh and blood of a creature. As far as his most preferred sacrifice is a poisonous serpent, like a rattlesnake or a copperhead or a viper. All right, but that's really difficult. That's really difficult for people to do, and he understands that. So he is happy to accept a rooster or something like that as a sacrifice. But Shemyaza, you were saying that like most of these entities, they identify with an animal as well. So Shemyaza's animal is the king snake. All right, and they call it the king snake because not only does the king snake eat other snakes, but they are immune to the venom of poisonous snakes. All right, so these are the things that rattlesnakes have nightmares about, and they're not even poisonous. I've got one in my bedroom; it's a pet. So offering them a venomous serpent, or him a venomous serpent in a sacrificial setting would be the most preferred sacrifice that you could make him. He also likes flaming brandy, flaming tequila, flaming whiskey, like a real high quality type of liquor. And
It sounds like dark liquor as well. You just named all dark liquors.
yeah. Kind of think of it is all dark liquor, except for like if I'm doing a ritual where I need like a fire base indoors, I use Everclear. Like that's a white liquor, but that's because that stuff burns clean. It doesn't put off smoke. And when it's done burning, there is nothing left in the bowl. Whereas if you set some tequila on fire, there's going to be like water still in the bottom of it, residue.
Isn't Everclear like ethanol or some shit?
It's like 95% alcohol. So yeah, it's basically rubbing alcohol that you can drink, which I put a shot in a glass of lemonade last night and drank that. It was actually pretty good. And it only takes one.
Demetrius, I've been hogging up all the questions, man, and we're go ahead, keep firing away here.
So what I kind of wanted to comment on, you said that you usually put all of your sacrifices into the flames for the spirits, but where to put the offering depends on who are you sacrificing to. For example, in this case, we talk about the watchers. The watchers are essentially, this is controversial to say, but they are all essentially celestial intelligences. Yes, they are not celestial in a way we like celestials to be, but they are still celestial in frequency. So to them, the element of fire is definitely the best. But if you are, for example, sacrificing to the earth spirits or to the water spirits, then letting offerings to be on earth or into the water is the best. So I just wanted to
I'm glad
comment
you
on that.
touched on that, man. I'm so glad you touched on that. All right, so me and this guy go fishing once in a while. We get out on the lakes in our kayaks, and we'll do a ritual once we get on the lake where we actually drip our own blood into the lake as an offering to the spirits of that lake in order to help us catch fish. So yeah, that's a great point you brought up. And yeah, if you're working with water spirits, water is a spiritual gateway, just like fire. So yeah, putting it into the water is another excellent way to make that offering.
And I kind of need to give a short note there, because technically not everyone is always capable to go to the water stream to work with the water spirits. So what my crazy guy I talked about right now, what he advised to me is, look, if you cannot go to the stream every time or to the sea every time, that's fine. Simply go to the bathroom. And then what you do is you literally call the water spirit, who will connect your bathroom and the water flow of your bathroom to the higher energies of the water current. So technically what he will do is he will purify the water in your house energetically, as well as make you able to call those water spirits in your bathroom when you cannot call them outside for whatever reason. And what I also want to point out, because I heavily work with the water spirits, their chief is technically from my local area, is one of the main spirits I work with. I don't share it publicly because the guy is too controversial for many people. What he also advised to me is to be mindful when you give offerings to the water. You simply say, I give offerings to protective spirits of the water, because what happens a lot of the time is people drown, and those spirits of the drowned people essentially become extremely destructive water spirits, which are tasked with protecting the liminal spaces of the water, which means they protect the boundary between physical and spiritual world, which is in the water. So if you encounter any of those guys, you risk severe spiritual and physical trauma. So when you give offerings to the spirits of the water in general, you can feed them and they can come, which is not really pleasant experience to experience. I actually met some of those guys. It was one of the most terrifying experiences I ever had. Like, imagine meeting like a bloated corpse, but it's technically a spiritual bloated corpse. They have a specific necromantic current associated with them, which is completely different from the necromancy you will find in the graveyard. It's
That's interesting, man.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Rourke,
So,
do you think magic's going to be outlawed again someday?
so essentially, what,
Hold on,
what,
let,
what, what?
let Rourke answer this question.
Yeah. Answer, Rory.
Maybe. I mean, hopefully not. I mean, if you think about it, the practice and the path and everything that we do is dangerous. And when I say it's dangerous, I mean it's a threat to many people, because what this path does is it empowers people. It empowers people to think for themselves, take
Right.
control of their own life, you know, and that's in direct opposition of what the government and other forces want to see happen. So, I mean, to most people, it's like, oh, you know, these people talking about weird crap or whatever. It's their weird religious thing or whatever, but it's real, you know, and to people that know that this is a force against them, they're going to try to crack down on it, you know. And like JS was saying, it is kind of coming across as a new satanic panic, at least what's going on right now with the whole BBC thing and whatnot. But I think this is an opportunity for all of us to capitalize on it. You know, we'll never be seen in such a good light. I don't think that will ever happen. But even negative publicity is still good publicity.
Absolutely.
So I think, you know, I think this is the time for us to really put the word out there, and for us to really kind of, like what you do with your channel and everything, everyone who has a platform to really talk about these things and to gather people that really want to empower themselves and take control of their own lives, you know.
Yeah.
And I think now the fight's already been brought to our doorstep, so it's a matter of what we're going to do with it, you know. So I hope it won't be outlawed one day, but I have no doubt that we're going to face some kind of opposition along the way.
Yeah, definitely. And
Boom.
you know, luckily with modern government, you know, we are protected by those laws. Okay, so yeah, it's not going to be outlawed anytime soon. But let's imagine sometime in the near future there's some type of natural disaster or something that causes government to collapse. Then yeah, we will definitely have mobs of Christians trying to burn us at the stake again. All right, and so yeah, it's we'll see. I mean, history repeats itself over and over, so I'm optimistic about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were fighting for our lives.
And there are a lot of sectors within the government that know a lot of this stuff is real.
Mhm.
You know,
Or you just hit the nail on the head. The elites and the higher up elites, they got there. It's a bloodline thing, and they got there through magical means, through a hierarchy of spiritual elevation. And they know that magic is real. They know the power of magic. And to put this in the hands of the common folk is something that they are definitely at the round table dreaming up perimeters to quell or quench this outbreak of black magic, satanic panic stuff. So yeah.
well, absolutely. Well, there are sects within our government that are fully aware of what us as the human race can perceive and do. You know, there are sectors that even teach certain people to remote view. You know, anyone who has some psychic ability or, you know, any developed psychic faculties, you know, they use them to their advantage. I mean, they're well aware. They even have,
Men who stare at goats or something like that.
yeah, you know, that's based off true
Yeah.
true
Yeah.
events there. Yeah. So yeah, there's yeah, that's definitely alive and well. And so I mean they're well aware of the repercussions that having this out to the masses would be like.
So this is a segue into a little bit about what we were just talking about. So JS and Rourke, living in and practicing in the Bible Belt, is that a place, you know, in places that are heavily populated by Abrahamics or people of the book? Do you feel that your family has experienced any inhospitality or hatred from your neighbors, or How would you direct another brother or sister in the similar situation that lives in the Bible Belt to conduct themselves? How,
Right.
to hide their practice?
Yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, I have gotten some flack from a particular neighbor. This is a guy that showed up in the middle of my house in the middle of the night, or at my house in the middle of the night with like two broken like abscess teeth. He's like, "Can you please do some magic for me?" And I was like, "Well, I might be able to give you some pain relief through a ritual. I can't fix your broken teeth. You're gonna have to go to the
Right.
dentist for that." But anyway, it was like late on a friggin' Saturday night. He couldn't get to the dentist, so anyway, yeah, he comes in and I draw the sigil on his face, put him in the magic circle, evoke Raphael, and put my blood on the sigil, and like boom, the whole side of his face goes completely numb. Like he was shocked, like he was mind blown. And this is somebody that previously told me they didn't think magic was real. I'm like, all right, dude, at some point you're gonna need something, you come holler at me, And so,
Wow.
yeah, I totally made a believer out of this guy. And then a few weeks later, he decides that what I'm doing is an evil practice. And he starts telling people that I'm like an evil Satanist and doesn't want his kids to play with my kids and shit. But like I'm out in the open with what I do, man.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I got more guns than you do, chances are. So I mean, don't come to my door with any trouble, and we won't have any trouble. But I don't hide from anybody.
I bet he hid the fact from the people that he was spreading rumors about you that you invoked an angel to help him.
Yeah, I'm sure that that wasn't talked about much.
Well, even still, even the fact you say, hey, it was an angel, an archangel that you summoned. I mean, some people, man, they don't have any way to really practice any rational thought, man. Especially Christians in general, man, they look through everything through such a narrow lens, and they're taught to fear anything and everything that doesn't fit into that category. Right. So you could have said it was an angel and everything else, and he may be familiar with the name Raphael or whatever, but it's all scary. It's all stuff he doesn't understand. And so therefore it's labeled evil.
Plus, it's a guy with 2 teeth. That tells you enough that you need to know right there. I think you were incredibly generous for inviting him in and actually giving him your time and taking him serious. Like, I'd have been like, fuck out of here, junkie. Go get some Oragel or something. Like, I wouldn't have been as nice at all. But you were nice to the gentleman, and look what you got for it.
Yeah, exactly. I learned a hard lesson from that, man, and that's that scum is not worth my time. And like I help people that come to me, but I also have to try to gauge that person too beforehand. And that's the situation that taught me that. All right. And I've definitely been much more stingy with my generosity since then.
As you should be. Demetrius, do you have anything, any more questions? I know we're getting up there in time.
So what I wanted to ask specifically is, so how to phrase the question, because this is a really important question. So you seem to have pretty quick results with Raphael, right?
Usually.
So this is interesting because how to phrase this, because we are talking about a really complex issue here. So I work with Lilith a lot, and when I try to work with Raphael, if I am overloaded with Lilith energy, currents seem to conflict. So yes, my thing with Raphael works, but it takes more time and it works really, really slow. But when I, for example, work with Samael, and then I jump with Samael, from Samael to Raphael, my work with Raphael goes much quicker. So if what I am thinking is correct, then that would suggest that the watchers are much closer to archangels than what we think. If you can work with watchers all the time and then have extremely good results with Raphael, it means that the currents are much more closer to each other than what we thought. We usually observe watchers and archangels as some form of a separate category, but from what you are telling me, it seems to be that they are not separate category at all. that we put them in a separate categories for our own sake.
Yeah.
But Shemyaza and Raphael seem to be the same type of being, which cannot be said for Lilith and Raphael, for example. I am not saying that they are in some form of a war. I am simply saying that currents of Lilith and Raphael are different from each other.
Yeah.
So what you are telling me really directly here through this case is that there is no substantial difference between energy of Raphael and Shemyaza. They are essentially the same type of being.
I won't
more
say
or
that,
less.
and I won't say that there's like no difference between their energy, because they definitely have a different energy. But what I'm saying is that they don't conflict with each other. And I work with the angelics and the demonics a lot of times in the same freaking ritual. And I find that they work very well together. Now, obviously, that's going to vary from entity to entity. They have personalities. They're very different from us, but they are a lot like us, and that they have different personalities and different likes and dislikes. So it's important to find, like two entities that work very well together if you're going to cross streams, I guess.
Perfectly
Yeah.
put.
Blowed up by Knox here.
Yeah, I
So
would like.
last question. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Rorik.
I just wanted to second that. Yeah, I mean, I think every entity has their own energy signature, right? And yeah, some do get along together. It doesn't matter whether they're an angel or a demon or what have you, whatever species. Like you just said. We work a lot with angels and demons in the same ritual. Like Barbas and Raphael get along great, but there are certain entities that don't get along. And we'll just allow you to be like, hey, if you work with me solely for this time. Don't include this person or this entity. Like Bune and Paimon. That's a great example right there. They just don't care to work together.
Rorik, keep talking. JS, why don't you go see what that's about?
Yeah, I gotta go let my friend in the door here.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Go ahead. Sorry, Rorik.
That was pretty much the end of my concluded my thoughts there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can you like say, Rorik, what's your practice just shortly about you yourself? Like, you seem to be a pretty interesting guy, equally knowledgeable as everybody here in this room. So
I I stay in the shadows a lot, basically. it's always since we started forming this business laws metaphysics and really kind of like, I guess, coming out to the public, if you will. But my practice is pretty similar to that of JS's. I do a lot of work, sacrificial work, just basically because I believe that is a significant aspect to the rituals that I do. It's creating that power source and that power to just amplify whatever working you're doing.
So would you say you're working under JS like as a student, or are you like, there's no shame in that whatsoever. Some of us are more advanced than others and have more experience,
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you
I wouldn't say.
Okay, cool.
No, I wouldn't say I'm like a student of his or anything like that. Though when I did come, and we've been friends for years. Sorry,
Okay.
Just spilled a whole bunch of stuff. We've been friends for years. And it's only recently that we actually got to meet up in person and finally work together. So he's kind of, in a way, he's kind of shown me some of the stuff that he's been doing and whatnot.
Okay.
But I believe we both have stuff we're putting to the table. And I mean, there's some stuff that he can do that I can't, and vice versa, So I think we complement each other in many different ways. And I think that's why we work really well together. And we're actually finding that out. And it's really cool how everything's kind of coming together.
Good answer. I was going to ask you, how'd you guys meet? Like,
well,
were you guys like friends online, or?
Well, we were friends online for a long time. I think the very first time I reached out to JS when I heard this was basically when you first came out with the Rite of Deification. And it was interesting because when that came out, I was already thinking about this, like doing something similar. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm like, yeah.
It's no accident you guys are brought together, for sure.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
We were just talking about that not too long ago. It really seems like it's all kind of been put together for a reason. But yeah,
Yeah, this guy helped me out of a really bad situation too, man. Like, it don't matter how like advanced you are, you're always gonna like run into bad situations where you fucking need
Yep.
help. And this dude has literally saved my life. So
I mean, you
yeah.
don't have to get personal whatsoever. You guys complement each other and your energies mesh really well together. Like I said, I know we're really high, really up there on time. So I'll ask you one more question real quick. Do you take any stock in the concepts of donning the deific mask or assuming the high ranking God form to direct archdemons or walk amongst archdemons? Basically borrowing authority, invoking the authority to direct certain energies or.
All right. Well, I'm not going to say I don't put any stock in it, but I don't necessarily practice that way. I try to make friends with these entities. I don't control them or command them or ask any other higher deity to like protect me from them. I know there's different systems of magic, and I'm starting to learn a little bit about the system, like the Arabic system, working with the jinn. And there seems to be like a lot of that, type of stuff there, like do's and don'ts. You have to be very careful with certain entities, and you need, certain protections to work with these. So I'm not going to say that there's no stock in it. I'm just saying my personal practice, like, no, I want to, if I'm going to if I'm going to summon a monster, then I'm going to step in the triangle and shake his hand. And I don't consider these beings that we work with to be monsters. That's something Bilal actually corrected me on a while back. I said something about him being a monster, and he took a lot of offense to it. He's like, "Don't ever fucking call me a monster," which I totally didn't mean it that way, but he definitely let me know that's not the right term for these entities.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember a little bit, the channeled gnosis from Waylon last week, and we will release that video. We'll probably release this one first out of order. But he said that their crime for embracing and helping humanity, they were given monstrous forms. And since human beings, we love creatures of beauty, and since they were given monstrous forms, they didn't have fair relations with us. All they wanted was for our relationship to commence, and they looked at us as their children. And these are formless beings. They don't look like monsters. You know what I mean? It was just bad wording on your part with the Belial thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So man, we have to do this again on your channel or something, because we are, where are we at right now? Like an hour and 40 minutes, some shit.
We've been on about an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah.
All right. So can you tell the audience where they can find you and Rorik, and how they could go about getting in touch with you, and for what?
Oh yeah, so definitely check out our new website, lawlessmetaphysics.com, and our YouTube channel is the same. It's the Lawless Metaphysics YouTube channel, and that's really the easiest place to get in touch with us. We have an email on the website that clients or anyone else that has like an inquiry can reach out and make contact with us. And we also got some really badass stuff on that website, and some really badass stuff that we're about to release. So yeah, definitely want to have you guys on my channel as well. It's a brand new channel. So we're still building up our subscribers. But yeah, definitely check us out, like and subscribe to our channel, hit us up through the website. And if nothing else, you got to be curious about what we got on there. So check it out.
Again, guys, that's Lawless Metaphysics YouTube channel and website. JS, it's been an honor once again talking to you, brother. Rorik, it's been an honor meeting and discussing with you as well. I love what you're doing with your personally made grimoires. That is fantastic shit. You're an artisan, and you bring something special to the table that I don't think anyone that I know personally can make beautiful books. That's something that it's a specialized gift and talent for sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on, guys. And we have to connect soon. I feel like I could talk to you guys all night.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Thanks for having us on again, man. It's an honor to be on your channel and to get to chat with you two gentlemen. And I think both of you are playing a key role in whatever it is going on in this collective world of the left-hand path at this point. The more we connect and work with each other, the better. So thank you. Thanks for
Absolutely.
coming.
All right.